it on my phone.
So you think she's watching?
She said she would be, so, okay.
All right, call the order at 6:09.
Is it all right if I just give a little preface?
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, go right
Item
ahead.
1, citizens time.
Okay, so, am I saying your last name right? Is it Jablonski?
No, it's Garbowski.
Gabowski, I apologize.
No worries.
So Mr. I'm just gonna give you the background, then he can speak to you, but Mr. Gabowski had, a sewer connection done a few years back, and like everybody else, picked an installer from our installers list. So he had some follow-up work from that job that, was not getting completed, so he called the office and he mentioned that he would, like to potentially see if someone from the department could give the installer a call. And then if that didn't work, he had a concern about wanting to see if that person could be taken off the list. So I told him if it comes to taking off the list, he needs to meet in front of all of you. But in the meantime, he asked if I would try to call the installer and try to get him back out on site, which I did. So that was a couple of weeks ago, but it didn't end up.
Thank you, though.
It didn't,
No, but it
do
was a
anything.
logical resolve to
He was trying to,
maybe,
yeah.
you know, kind of give him a little hint that, you know,
Yeah.
we're
So-
trusting you here to finish this. And
Yeah, so that didn't work, so,
Thank you.
he came into the office this week and asked about, he felt that if he was having an issue with the installer, that installer shouldn't be back on our installers list because other people could have issues as well, and I explained to him that that would be a commission decision. So I'm gonna let him take it from here and give you all the background and see what you think from that.
Okay.
Good? Yep, all right.
I'll fill in the missing spots if there's any.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, it's down.
Give me a second.
How you doing?
Very well, and you?
Hello.
Sorry, just move that for you. So, what happened was, we purchased the property at 12 Forest Park Ave, Tyngsborough, and we discovered that we were having a plumbing issue on Sunday, October 10th, 2021. We realized that we weren't getting drainage whatsoever through the tub, through the sink, and so forth. Saturday, October, 2 days later, the 23rd, 2021, I rented a drain snake, the big heavy-duty one. So I went 100 feet to the street, thinking maybe it was an old clog or something. No resolve whatsoever. Then on Sunday, 2 days, the next following day, Sunday, October 24th, 2021, discovery of no drain tie-in for waste into the street town sewer. That's when we contacted this commission, this, right, sewer commission, correct? We contacted you and also came to one of your meetings. And that's when we were informed that, you know, there is a drawing, this gentleman here, I can't remember his name, had
Paul.
provided,
Yeah.
what's his name?
Paul.
Paul, Paul Prevention, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, now I recall. Mr. Preventure came and gave us a drawing of where the tie-in direction would be. And it was a 30-year-old drawing, it was handwritten, we have a copy of it. It was inaccurate. I dug in a crawl space 2 feet trying to find it, hoping it was there, because I still have this plumbing issue. Everything's backing up into the home. So after attending the meeting with the commission, we were given the list of all the contractors that were on for this scope of work. We ended up taking Sunny Meadows, correct? Sunny Meadows J. He came out, reassured us that he could handle it. It was November of 21. December, we were lucky we didn't have a frost. He got it done. He tore up the yard, brought it all the way through the yard, did the best he could to minimize the damage to the driveway in order to get to the tie-in. So he completed the tie-in, re-put all the material back into the hole, and then we didn't see him till August 22. That's when he came back. So he had crushed the septic, because that was part of the scope of work that needs to be done under the town's permit. He crushed it down but left it exposed. So I covered it for the winter. Thank God we had a mild season. Covered it, just to make sure nobody got hurt, dog didn't fall in, that kind of thing. Lawns, all rocks, all tore up, not complete. August 22 is when he finally came back. I was begging him to do the lawn all summer. So I had crabgrass, been just a nightmare to deal with, been very ugly. And I had a beautiful lawn at one point. Then it just became, he was dragging and dragging through the process, never came back. Came back when no one was around, never announced himself. I end up filling in the septic tank myself because I had enough. Sent him messages telling him I'm trying to get this job done. I need my lawn done. Please help me. Please help me. No help. So then I end up raking the lawn out and grading it, which was a chore. And then he shows up on his own and sprays something over the lawn. It's all wildflowers. It's not grass. And we have pictures and documents to show all this. So I never wanted the lawn done. I wanted the driveway because the driveway sank. It fell in immediately within the first year. I contacted him incessantly, went to his home, and he still would not come back. About 6 months after that, he comes back and puts a small patch in and says that hopefully this will remedy it. It sunk again immediately. Now the hole is really, really big. We haven't had any downpours, luckily, in the last few months. The sinkhole is so large that it occupies part of the lawn and a part of the pavement in the driveway, which was already patched once, which I was grateful he had done. Unfortunately, it didn't hold up. He then comes and dumps a bunch of sealant stuff, and it just looks terrible. It didn't even get in the cracks where the two, pavements meet. So it made it look ugly. And not to mention, you can't drive over it because it tracks up and down the streets. So I've been living with half a driveway. The hole is so large now, and where the line was, where he had cut with the demo saw to match the pre-existing driveway and put it back, it all caved in. Now it's caving in towards the street. I've mentioned to him multiple times via text, via verbalized. He even showed up there a few times promising to get this done. So I'm like, Jay, I'll give you some money. We'll work this out. I'll work with you. Bring me the compactor, the truck, the diesel fuel for the pavement, and the dump trailer. I'll pay for all of it. But I need this done. This is dangerous. Now it's eroding where the two pavements meet, and I'm concerned that the tie-in's not there correctly. I'm concerned that maybe there is something wrong under there, because now I don't even wanna drive over it at all. It literally, there's a hole that's going, if you have to see it to understand what I mean. It looks like it's undermined, and it looks like a danger. It's near the mailbox, it's street side. That's my biggest concern. I'm worried about a delivery driver. I barricaded it, put wood over it, barrels, anything I could to keep people away from it. But it's really, really scary to think that maybe the tie-in's not 100% sealed, or maybe the wrong material. I don't know, because I can't open it up. I was told that I had to use someone off the list from the town and had to play that role, and it's just been a nightmare for us. We have an ugly lawn. We have a big sinkhole still in the backyard that's still continuing to sink because it was never completed. This is a gentleman that was on your list, and I just want to make sure he doesn't take any more work until this is resolved. Because to me, I'm gonna have to go back in time and look up his contractor number, see what permits were pulled, see what other customers he's been doing things to, and then I have to go fight him in court, because that's where it's gotten, and I was just hoping maybe some kind of help here,
So, just, let me, real
Sure.
quick, do you think there's a leak in the
I'm
installation?
I'm a construction guy, and to me, now that I saw the new part that's sinking, it makes me very deeply concerned. They either, and logically, it's December, it was still thawed, he did the job in December. He did the job. I'm concerned about the material that was used to compact and that was his theory. Oh, I don't like how it looked either, he said. I wanna rip it all out. I even was trying to entice him by extending the driveway to make it even better, right, and easier and more worth his while. And he still hasn't shown up, still won't come. He gets on the phone with me and just sits there, doesn't say anything. And he goes, I never come back to jobs. That's what he said. And I was like, after all this time, you could've said this 2.5 years ago, you could've told me to screw off,
Unfortunately,
you know?
unfortunately, also myself, when I would send him a text message saying, Jake, please come help me, like, I don't know what to do, like, help me. He would text me and say, I'll be there Saturday at 2 o'clock to look at it.
No
He'll never
show.
show up.
Make me stand there,
And then I'll
waiting
call
for
him again
Did
and
it again
say what
April-
happened,
March
and
16th,
he would
April
say,
11th, same thing.
I'll show up, and he never shows up.
May
Or he'll
7th.
say, yes, I'll look at it, and he
May
makes these
15th.
promises, and he's, like, my patience is kind of like, I don't know what else to do. It's been going on for so long. I do have current pictures, if you do need to look at them, of the hole and like Jared had said, another concern is the tie-in. There is a picture that I did take that at the end of my driveway, has nothing to do with the hole, but there are cracks where I think the tie-in is under, so that's also concerning me as well, so I don't know if this hole is creating something with the tie-in, and so it is a safety issue, and it is a little concerning to me.
And it's getting larger. That's
is
what's
getting
scary. That's
larger.
what's making me think that there's something leaking maybe under there that's eroding, because we haven't had that rain downfall.
'Cause there
That
is
could make it that bad, like it's literally, and now when you look at it from across, the hole is here in front of me, and the street's literally 3 feet from my arm. And there's another hole where the two pavements meet, and you can see
It is
the light from the other side,
It's
about
created.
8 feet into the hole.
And it
So
was
that
just
makes me
created.
think that the whole driveway is, or the street, maybe something happened in the process, I'm not sure. But at the same time, I'm very concerned about the tie-in itself.
And the reason
for
why
the
we
sake
are
of the
here
street.
is because, and the reason why we are here at the meeting is because unfortunately Jay is not making his
If,
word.
Can you just pass
Yes.
those pictures around?
Sure.
Paul, you don't know anything about this, they just
Paul,
came the other day,
Mr.
right?
Provencher was actually the first gentleman that responded
Well,
from the town.
Yeah,
And
years
then
ago.
he was
Nothing, I meant-
excused
I meant
due
like-
to his assistant
meant
ended
like
up
So these-
overseeing the project.
These
before
are
you
all
come into town
current
hall.
as of literally like today.
Did we inspect
No,
it?
I
That's
just-
my question.
It was inspected.
Yeah.
It
But
was
can I
inspected.
say something?
Yeah.
You have a drainage issue. The drain pipe in front of your house is corroded and broken.
What
It's
drain?
causing the undermining of your driveway.
I don't understand. What drain pipe?
There's a drain pipe there connected to the storm drains.
Yes, the gentleman that's adjacent, the property that's
Yes,
adjacent,
goes in front of your house.
4 feet in, yes.
Which is rotted
I
and
know what you
caved
mean,
in.
yes.
So, nobody's fixed it.
So this is a town issue?
Yes, it is.
So in this picture, Paul, where is, in relation to, where's your house in relation to this? Here?
Yes.
That's the actual drain right there that he's talking about, by
So
the
who
way.
did
My
the-
house is this
you
way.
did the
This is
inspection
just the
years ago?
street view, excuse me
I
for a
did
moment.
not do the inspection. I was
This is-
excused from the inspection.
I'll show you, sir.
That's the
But
end of
the-
my driveway.
Hold
But
on
there's
a
no
second.
drain,
Look at
there's a drain there?
So
There
it
is in the
inspected.
lawn,
We have
on the
records
opposite
of
side of that lawn, there,
The sewer
inside the
connection is
mailbox,
solid.
there's a culvert, excuse me, sewer.
There's a grate.
There is,
Oh.
cause Roofing King bought those properties and
Storm drain.
did the driveway
All right,
there.
listen,
Yes.
one conversation at a time.
Those pictures are,
Those are current.
I know, but that's the stuff that he had dumped.
That's,
Just showed
that's
up
the
and
end of your
dumped.
drive, this is the end of your
That
driveway?
was the patch that he created.
Yes,
Yes,
that's,
that is the end of my
this is the
driveway.
first time it's sunk here also.
I've got a lot of pictures
I
here.
know you do, cause you're an attorney.
So where is this in relationship to this?
That is where, if you're looking, if I'm standing at my back to the home, that is on my front yard, that is right behind the mailbox. See that first rock that's there? The
Yeah.
mailbox is centered 3
So-
feet in
so
from
that would be
there.
right here?
No.
That's the neighbors.
I can show you.
This is the neighbors, so we don't need this. This is the sealant that the gentleman, Jay, had just come and dumped into where the new paving was.
But where's the recession? Over here, near the mailbox?
The hole
Yeah,
is literally right here.
right there.
So the hole wasn't here yet. It sunk once, he had come and patched a square.
And your tie-in went this way?
The tie-in came across that line here and through the front yard and over to the far side of the home.
So Paul, you're saying
towards-
down here where that sinkhole
towards the
is,
street.
is where the drain
Yes.
goes across?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
can,
Hold on.
Now, is there any other places that this is sinking just at the driveway?
Yeah, it literally, it's just growing, and it's moving. The sink is going to get worse if, God forbid, somebody drives on it, because it's eroding way in now. It's like 8 feet in from where that hole is, which is
Right,
very,
but
that's
the
what's
sewer
freaking me out.
connect-
Yes,
The sewer connection was made on your property. Not out
the
in the
waste tie-in, yes.
Right, the
You
sewer
said
tie-in,
sewer,
right. So,
yes.
if the tie-in wasn't done correctly, your hole would be inside the property. Because when they do the sewer mains, they bring those 6-inch stubs 8 to 10 feet onto your property, in that range. That's where you made the connection. If that wasn't connected there, that's where it would be sinking. But if it's going under the pavement, like you're saying, I have to agree with Paul, it's a drainage issue. Have they snaked these catch basins at all?
The drainage that works on, how it works, Forest Park's a hill, it goes towards the lake. When you watch it, when you observe it raining,
Yeah.
it travels down on the street, bypassed my driveway, and literally and does a U-turn into the neighbor's mailbox that's in the picture here. This is where the sewer is.
So
right
there's no
here.
catch basins on your
The
street?
catch basin is in this person's driveway that's next to mine,
Okay,
right here. So it's literally right there because I did the pavement for Roofing King when they bought those 3 homes. And that sewer, every winter I make sure it's open, make sure it's working, there are no leaves there, and it works. Thank God it works, because it used to overrun the property that's next door that Roofing King had remodeled and did. So he remedied the drainage also.
But is that tied in?
Meaning from the actual rainfall in the street, when the rush comes from the street and a big downpour, which we had a bunch of downpours in last year, if everyone recalls those tropical storms we had, that it functioned very well, because it didn't run back into the neighbor's house like it had done in all the years we were there. So the
is
sewer
that
works.
tied into the municipal drain, or is that just a cistern with stone? Paul, do you know? Is there drainage on that road?
Yeah, there's another cover further up.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a big plate on the other side of my property, there's another big basin, is that what it's called,
Yeah,
Mr. Prevention?
yeah.
A basin?
That's-
Yeah, and there's a metal plate over
Yeah.
it, steel metal plate.
That's a
so-
storm drain.
Yes.
And where does it end? It keeps going down the street?
It continues towards the lake, right? There's other sewers down there that I've seen.
So, just a couple, I'm just trying to find out where the sewer connection is on the street. So would that be over here where this?
May I join you just for a second, sir? I'll just look.
It came this way?
The gentleman came and cut this line. So this is all the newer stuff. This is
Oh,
the
no.
pre-existing. So the tie-in is on a diagram that I have the diagram. It's literally right here.
So Fred, his stub is probably, what, right there?
Right here?
Here's where you can see the
No,
light
the
from the
stub's gonna
hole.
be inside
This is
the
all
property
open
line.
now.
That's what I mean.
See where that cone
This
is?
is his driveway.
Yes. This
Right.
whole picture is the driveway. The tie-in's right here on the diagram
So
that
where's-
this gentleman gave me.
Where's the catch basin?
The catch basin's in the neighbor's yard.
it's in the neighbor's yard.
This is this view here. I can orientate if I may. When you're looking at this, here's my property. So there's the neighbor's property. So this is mine. The neighbor is this way.
Looking that way.
So this neighbor's over
Drain-
here.
drainage is right in
His
here.
sewer's in the driveway right there. That's where that sewer
So
comes.
I
it's
mean,
not-
you mean his drainage?
His drainage,
It's
sorry.
not in
yes.
our driveway,
Yes. It's not in ours.
no. It's actually in front of their driveway.
And the street, and Mr. Prevention's right, I mean, the amount of water.
So
The-
this is
the-
back
The
here.
town came and filled this pothole in because the street is completely eroded anyway, due to the years and years of that water running down, you know? But that's the street.
And
The other thing is,
Has-
if it was a sewer pipe, we'd be getting crap in that sewer line, and with the hole sinking like that.
Well, you'd have backup, yeah.
Okay, that main line would be clogged by now.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question. The sewer's been running fine?
Yeah,
Everything seems to be okay.
well, it's not.
Seems
not-
to be
not
as far as
only
when
this
I
sewer.
fill up my tub, use all my sinks,
This sewer could be
everything's
running
draining
fine,
and
but
the street's
with-
not
with
flooding.
that sinkage, that dirt has to be going someplace.
Right.
So if it was the sewer pipe, it'd be going down the sewer pipe, it would end up in one of our manholes, and we'd be having a massive clog on that. I would say like, there's a ton of them in this town. The drain pipe that the town owns is probably decayed, and rotted away, then it's holding the water, and water's gonna go least resistance.
I have a-
It's going around the sewer pipe, it's gonna follow it down to the main line and go right along the main.
I have a thought. We have a new,
We get a town engineer, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Can we,
This is probably some I&I.
possibly,
There's plenty
so,
here for the
can
scope
we,
of the project.
This is key.
can we ask Jake to go and look at it?
I have the key.
Oh, yes. I'll make sure. Excuse me, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep those. Here you go. Now, I did make some calls and I spoke to Drake it about their project that's gonna happen on Malvern, Forest Park, and the one after that, I believe, three, they're doing three,
three
Drake it,
sections, 3 phases.
Actually,
and they're doing, and that is sewer
No,
or
it's
water?
that's
Water, so they are doing just water,
Yeah,
and that includes us.
that includes you guys?
Forest Park, Malvern, and Lakeview, and also
no,
the one
Muscatine,
next,
isn't it?
Muscatine,
Muscatine,
3 side streets and tied into the main, Lakeview.
yeah,
That's what Drake had told me
yeah, no,
when I spoke to them. They said they're doing that, they're taking bids now
they
and
already
hope,
got it, the job's
They
been
did?
awarded, it's gonna start the end of August.
yes, she had said. So they did find somebody.
Yeah, it went out to bid.
Oh, good.
So this is where he cut on the driveway.
Yes, that was the
Where the-
original when he had first
And
came
the
in
sewer line
December.
goes- Sewer line goes this way?
Yes, according to the well,
Got it.
it goes,
Actually, good picture.
well, sir, if you look at it again, it comes towards me. It goes through, cuts through the front lawn,
Yeah.
all the way around to the far side of the house.
Paul, these from you?
From Doug.
From Doug?
I did organize those pictures for timeline, so there is dates on those, just so you guys can see.
I personally, I think you have a civil matter with Jay for not completing the work on the property. We can hold him responsible for what he does in the street if he was to go out in the street. But where that's on your property, that's a contract that you have with him.
Well,
Hear me- hear me out.
100%,
Let it-
sure,
let it-
absolutely.
Yeah, well,
So
Sure.
technically, that's a civil matter between you and him.
Oh, yes,
He should have definitely come back and done it, I agree.
yes.
But every time a customer is not happy with the grass didn't come on the way it was, and, you know, everything else, they will call the sewer department, and I'm not saying you don't have a valid point. We'll say, you know, he should lose his license. Everything's been inspected, the job was done according to town spec with the stone, the pipe, and all that. So really, we have nothing we can do. He did what he was supposed to do, he didn't finish it to your standards, and I agree that you shouldn't have left it that way. But I honestly, I've been doing this for 45 years. I feel that's a drain issue. I have to agree with Paul 100%. That's the drain pipe that's causing that. Because if it was a sewer pipe, you would have silt and stone and everything else in our sewer main, and it would end up over time, with the way that sunk, we would have a clog in the sewer main. And we don't have that.
These are,
Yes, you wouldn't, your system would have been junk already.
Yeah, it would end up just filling up the pipe. I mean, I've seen it happen. It goes into the pipe, it backs up, sooner or later it's gonna clog your pipe and clog the main. Jack's, I'm sure Jack's
So,
seen it a million
the
times.
pipe that you're talking about, sir, is, I'm tied into that, correct?
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's
So
it.
if it's that's leaking,
it's not, that's not.
it's not that.
No, it's not that, but what I'm saying
We
is,
can't say for
when
sure
he
that
did your sewer
that's not it.
connection,
You said drainage issue.
So let's
right, the storm
specify.
drain, the storm drain catching the water on the roof, and that catch basin that's across the street. There's a million of them in this town, they have the old,
So you think it's water runoff that caused that?
Yep.
That's what you're saying?
Yep.
So twice it did the same thing, and now
There's,
it's even bigger?
I
Yeah.
know
And we
there's
haven't had any
there's an issue over on
substantial rain?
Sherbrooke, same thing. We were looking at it not that long
yeah,
ago.
we had the same problem. What happened was the town years ago used to use the steel corrugated pipe. never kept up with them, replacing them at the end. Over time, they just corrode away.
So if that pipe's corroded away,
And it's in the street,
and
So,
wouldn't,
right,
Right, that's why you're looking out into the street and seeing a hollow spot.
but what I'm saying is if there's corrosion that's in the street, that's creating
problems
See,
in the driveway.
problems, that's in the street, that is owned by the town,
Town,
that is,
That's
Affecting-
that's the highway department, the town engineer. They have,
So-
we're strictly the sewer pipe, that's it. The drainage and everything else in the, when we do a sewer project, we have to get a permit from the highway department to dig in the street. That's their department,
State level.
you know.
so what I just asked Kathy is, we're gonna talk to the town engineer now who is overseeing the sewer department and have him go out and look at that and try to get an evaluation of what's going on. Maybe they can do something to help you guys out, temporarily. Maybe it's gonna be fixed when they do the water pipe over there, I don't know. But let's start with that and see what we'll get get an assessment from him and then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Can I just suggest,
Yeah.
before you leave, could you just on a piece of paper, give me your name, your number and your email address?
Sure.
And then tonight, before I leave, I'll email Jake and give him your information, and next week ask if he can get in touch with you, or maybe
Sure.
stop by the site and take a look.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah.
great, any help would be appreciated.
So
I
let's
just-
start there and see what happens
Sure.
and we'll,
Go from there.
Kathy, if he wants one of us here or there at the same time, Paul or Doug or any of us.
Yeah, 'cause you know that steel plate that's on
Okay.
your lawn?
Yes,
Somebody
that,
from
up
our
top,
group,
yes.
Sure.
That's-
Mr.
that's
Flynn's.
That's drainage.
Right,
So the pipe goes past your house
right,
to the other storm drain.
right,
Right now, the water's going on top of the street, but the water that's going in the pipe,
from the lawns and so forth.
it's compromised. It's following the sewer pipe that he just put in because
Right.
it's a
It's
weak
loose.
spot.
It's stone.
Yeah,
No,
whenever you.
Sand, right?
Yeah.
No, it's-
Well,
it's
it's
stone,
it's
sand, right.
stone.
It follows right into the stone.
The sewer connection
Right.
itself has stone on
It
it.
makes sense.
The sewer, the manhole itself has stone around it. The sewer main itself has stone around it. That's why in
It's
some of
the
the
conduit.
driest areas, if you dig down at the bottom of the hill around a manhole, you need pumps.
Oh, yeah.
Because all the groundwater just follows
Gathers.
the stone. And
Makes sense.
like you said, you're getting the sinkage, because what happens, you get some water, loosens up, it flows down. Then you get a little, and it creates a hollow. Then all of a sudden it drops when it dries out. So, that's my gut feeling. I do feel that you got a legitimate case against, Jay, but I don't feel it's something that we should be involved in.
Well,
Well,
I mean.
I would
Yes.
agree with the piece of finishing it, but I don't agree with that we don't have any control. Can I ask in open meeting that we have had other issues with Sunny Meadows?
I haven't had any official complaints from residents that
So
use him.
typically, the job
I
is
haven't.
done.
Their job is not typically.
So for us, I mean, if we had a bunch of complaints, we certainly have
Right.
the ability to take them off the list. I mean, we don't want contract.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
Well,
mean
let's
it that way, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I
not
mean,
what
We
we're
have
saying.
con-
I
we
bet-
have, we
we're
have
not saying
control
that,
over him,
yeah.
we don't have control
Right.
over him finishing the job, that
Correct.
unfortunately is for
Right.
you and whatever
It's a civil matter.
avenue you
Yeah,
take.
I understand
That's
that.
right,
Yeah.
He certainly
And I
should
respect
have,
that.
yeah.
At the same time, it was just the words echo in my head.
Yeah, no.
I couldn't do it. I was
Yeah.
told I couldn't do it, because I was gonna go get a machine and do it, because I know how to do it. But I am not licensed in this state to do it. So therefore, I was informed that I had to choose someone that you guys
Yeah.
vet,
Every city in town.
that's on the list,
Yeah.
and that's good. So how I'm looking at this is the same representation that you provided for us at that time during the emergency that occurred, and thank God
Did
it
he
got
ever go
done.
back and finish the,
He
was
only
he
came
supposed
back.
to, was he supposed to loan and seed it?
That was the thing. The contract that we have with him, that's all, I literally did all the processes, that's what really upset me the most. The reason why I'm sitting here is to make sure that this gentleman is looked at a little differently, and maybe somebody needs to investigate a little more. I will for the civil matter, because I am not letting it go.
I guess his question was.
And
is-
he did come back on occasions, but every time he said he was coming, he never showed on those dates that I was standing
So-
there waiting.
so currently
And then he
today-
comes, and the scope
Yeah.
of work was to make sure that septic tank was filled in, because that's part of your
So
protocol.
aside from these,
He never came back for that.
so aside from these
Yes.
sinkholes, everything else he was supposed to do is complete?
No, he didn't
No.
do it. He literally did, he's the one that said, I'm gonna do your lawn, and I said, as long as you grade it I will seed it and plant it myself.
Alright.
As long as you grade it, because the machine's
Is
there,
that, do you guys have that in writing?
we have everything we need.
Do we,
Well,
do we
I-
have copies of the contracts?
No.
See, that's
We
the,
will
that's the
provide you with
unfortunate thing,
everything you
because
need.
grading
Yeah.
can be the junk
I
that
had
they
to
dug
grade
up.
it. I had to
No,
grade grade.
No, but I'm saying,
Yes.
the word grading means flat, right?
Yes,
It can be
Slope.
junk that you're never gonna grow grass on.
it was.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Yes.
if his vision of grading means, I'm gonna take all this stuff and make it flat, doesn't help you, cause you can put grass seed down on gravel and it's gonna be garbage, right? Loomed and seeded is a different story, or loomed and graded.
So what's it say on the contract? Does it say lumen seeded or?
I'd have to reread
I
it to
would-
make sure
I would-
it's right,
So,
it should be
well, let's
here.
get,
We
let's.
will get you everything you need first
let's-
thing in the
Let's
morning.
get the answer from the engineer.
Yes, absolutely,
And we'll go from there and see where we're at.
and that's
Yeah,
state.
That's my.
I
No,
love the
that's
idea.
Jake.
I love the idea.
Jake will, whoever.
I do.
Yeah, so let's do that. Kathy's gonna reach out, we'll be in contact and we'll see what happens.
In the meantime, you know, I don't feel comfortable with him. Alls I was asking for was someone like yourself, or Mr. Preventure, as a townie. He's from Tyngsborough, I'm from Tyngsborough, we're all from Tyngsborough, we're all in the same place here. It's like, I was hoping maybe, hey, call him up and say, hey, Jake, just bang that out and get out of there.
Well,
Just
I think-
fix the driveway at least.
Sounds like-
I don't care, I didn't
Sounds
care
like
about
it's
the
a
rest
Well,
of
it
it.
could be-
It's a little too late for that.
Yes,
Right.
and
Maybe
that's
2
what
years
my
ago,
attempts.
that could have been.
Correct.
Right.
I do have a question.
Yep,
So I know we're gonna wait for the engineer
Yes.
to go and look. Is there any possible assistance that somebody could actually help me fix my driveway? Or is that a no-go?
well, I don't know the answer to that at this point. It'll have to be, wait and see what
Investigate.
what the answers are, if it's caused by the
If the
town.
damage is
Is it
caused
caused
by
by the
that.
drainage? Is it caused by the sewer? I guess the answer would be, it's a possibility, but it depends on what the issue is and what the recommendations are going forward.
Okay.
And Mr. Preventer, I do have a question for you. When, in those instances when someone does a tie-in like that, it's sand, a certain amount of sand according to the permit, right, and how it's supposed to be done? The pipe's supposed to be protected, correct? Flagged and protected.
Stone.
There should be some kind of flag also, so if you were to dig by
There is.
chance,
There
there's
is-
some way
there
to
is,
identify there is a pipe
sewer
there.
tape. There's sewer
Thank you,
tape there.
correct. And then what's the material, isn't there supposed to be a certain material that's put under pavement? Isn't it it's not supposed to be sand, it's supposed to be gravel, 6 to 8 inches of gravel for pavement, 4 inches of pavement, something in that area? I'm just concerned that maybe the material was wrong.
That wouldn't come under our spec. Our spec says you're gonna put a 6-inch pipe in, 6 inches of stone all the way around it to the top, and you're gonna put magnetic tape. That's, I believe the pictures show that that's what was done. Now, as far as going across the driveway, I mean, depending on what was there, maybe he put back what was there. Did he take good gravel out and put sand in? I don't know.
What I meant was in between the pipe and all the things that need to occur around that pipe to protect the pipe, isn't there supposed to be just earth?
Just gravel, yeah.
Well, it depends on,
Everyone keeps
it
saying
depends on
gravel,
the
but
spec
I
from the
can't see putting a
town.
driveway on top of 8 feet
Six-
of, 6 feet of gravel is what I mean. Usually there's like 3 feet of earth and then you put gravel on top and then pavement.
Gravel, if you're paving,
Whatever was outside.
So whatever, so that's
Yeah.
what you
Whatever
just
you took out
backfills.
of the hole,
whatever comes out
Okay.
goes back in. You, just as long as you get that 6-inch cushion all the way around
Okay.
that,
Well-
that's the purpose of putting the
Cause
stone.
it looked like sand.
I mean, under the driveway,
That's what
they
was
should have
weird.
compacted it, and the lawn,
Yeah.
not so much. I
Well,
mean,
his
they'll-
theory when
they'll
it
hit
first
with
sunk, and he had said that, he said, we did it in December, and I said, I understand, but you didn't even come back till 9 months later to pave it. You left it like this all winter on top of it, you had all summer too.
So-
And then he did the pavement, and then it sunk immediately, and that's when I was like, oh no, and he came back. And then
Alright,
he
so
kept
let's get-
saying the same thing this gentleman was saying, compassion.
Well,
Right,
by
so let's get the
right,
engineer out there and look at it. and we'll
Awesome,
go from there.
thank you guys.
All right?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry having that
Yeah,
problem,
it's just,
that's.
I just
that's
don't want anybody to
aggravating.
fall in it.
Yep,
And I
You
don't
can-
want a car to be stuck in
You
it
can
at
have
some
these
point.
photos.
you want those?
Well, no, we'll
Yeah.
assemble you, we'll get you
don't need
everything
those
you
yet
need,
for the-
we will bring
I'm
it.
You want
sorry,
those for the file?
That's really up to you
What I'm
guys.
gonna do is this, I'm going to provide you with the file tomorrow, I'll just drop it off.
I'm not here tomorrow, we're closed on Fridays,
Oh, Fridays,
but I'm here
I
Monday.
will make sure it's here Monday,
Okay,
and that way you have all the
We have-
information,
We have the inspection photos.
you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Correct, but
Yeah.
before and afters I will give you, and then the contract for the scope of work,
Okay.
so that way you have that as well.
Perfect.
You know, anything you need, just call me.
Okay, and just leave me with your contact information before
Absolutely,
you
yes,
leave.
ma'am.
And then I'll give that, I'll shoot an email tonight to the
Where do you want me to write
DPW
it?
director. Do you have paper? I can give you a scrap of paper here.
I have it.
Sure.
Just right on the back.
Oh, thank you.
All right, moving on. New business, topic the chair did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. Anybody?
I don't have anything
All right, 130 Middlessex Road.
on that. Okay, so I don't know if we have, we're supposed to be having, oh, you're here for that, okay.
Change of discussion. Who's? Oh,
The
okay,
gentleman.
perfect.
Do you want me to just give a little
Yeah,
intro?
okay.
So the property is at 130 Middlesex Road, which is the plaza behind Casadori's. As you know, that was part of the Phase 1 West project. And at the time, the property is currently connected to sewer. Last October, planning board had asked for a request for comment from all the departments. Because they're looking to do a change in use and put 7 residential apartments on the top floor of the plaza. So at the time, you had looked at that, Jack looked at that, and our comment was, with the change in use, once you go through your permitting, if it's allowed for you to do this, come back to a sewer commission meeting, and at that time, we'll talk to you about if there's an increase in flow and privilege fee. So they just, I believe, just got approved through planning board recently?
We're about to.
About to, okay, so
We
you're.
have Conservation Commission approval.
Okay, so, because capacity, over the last month, we've been talking capacity, I reached out to, Attorney Nicosia, who was representing them, and just said, if they're looking, they really should be coming in before us soon, because we're getting very tight on capacity. I know we've already looked at this in October, but you might wanna come and just, talk to us now, because things are getting very tight on that. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
So, the gentleman is here this evening, is this Brian?
Yes, Brian Dunn for the record with MBL Land Development
Okay.
and permitting with offices at 5 Bristol Drive in the lovely town of Southeastern, just a couple of feet away from here. So, so what Kathy was talking about is pretty much accurate. We have a Conservation Commission approval. Later this month, we'll be in front of the planning board to button up things with them. We do have an existing sewer connection from the plaza and from the restaurant that goes out into Middlesex Road. Our client, Mr. Ferris, was paid $92,940 back in 2018 as a betterment for the sewer connection that's there now. So when you do the math that Jack put together, it is talking about another $46,000 in a betterment. However, I'm not too sure that we kinda calculated that correctly. So if we've already paid for 2 floors,
So, just, it's not about the payment, it's about the number of EIUs, which is the
understood.
flow.
So what I'm trying to say is that if we've got 2 floors and a restaurant that we paid for, and now we're gonna get rid of the 2nd floor and that use, and we're gonna convert that to residential uses, shouldn't that betterment that was paid for the 2nd floor be subtracted? Because we're not,
No, because
we're changing, so we're changing that?
You change, right, you
We're
hit right on the
changing.
head, you're changing use. So you're going from an office to a residence. Which
Correct.
one's good, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure the office is not gonna use the same amount of water.
Well, I think he's
As a
saying,
resident.
should there be a delta versus the 92
That's
grams
correct.
gone?
Right, so
and there's
whatever
an addition.
downage.
So, so, how many EIUs were they approved for? Anybody know the
8.
answer to that?
They were approved for 8, and I guess they paid.
Just the plaza, not the
They-
restaurant?
Both.
They paid for
For both,
8 in
okay.
aggregate. No, so I had, and I talked with Justin from
Yes.
your office. We subtracted, so the whole betterment was based on the 100 gallons per day per 1,000 square foot for all of the square footage. So it's kind of like the baseline. But we treated this the way we've done, kind of the other one similar to this, where it's, you're taking away this much square footage. So we subtracted, we took that out, and then we recalculated the 100 gallons per day per 1,000 square foot, times the remaining square footage and added in the 7 ERUs for those properties for that top portion. So that was where, you get the 7 and then the square footage, I have the number here, but it yielded 11.09 total, which rounds up to 12, which is where the 8 plus 4, so they would need 4 ERUs as a privilege fee.
So how many square feet upstairs?
I knew you were gonna ask that.
11,000, hold on,
The-
11,274.
So that's divided by 1,000, no, 100.
Yeah, but then we're putting residential up there, so,
No, I understand, but I was trying to back out what we charge them per 100 square feet. Is it 100 square feet or 1,000?
1,000.
1,000 square feet.
No.
In the original, the betterment. Because you said for that use, it's 100 gallons per 1,000 square feet.
That's correct.
It's 100 gallons, yeah, per 1,000.
So that's
Times the
1,100
area.
gallons
I-
a day that they paid for originally. Now we're converting it to residential, which is a,
how many residential units?
1 EIU per unit, so
Yeah, so
7.
there's 7.
Seven.
So there's 7 right there, yeah.
so 7 times how much? What's an ARU?
300
330.
gallons a day, 330.
So 330, so that's 22 something, 2,300, less the 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah, 2310 is the
2310.
number. You're very good, 2310.
I was
Yeah,
close,
very
I work
good.
in close.
Okay. We won't hold that
I should be
against.
working for the government.
We won't hold
It's
that
close-
ag-
Close enough.
That's a million or two.
So like,
So there's a
but-
delta of 1,200.
right, that's what I'm trying to get at, is there should be a delta.
I knew you were here because
Wait.
you thought you were overcharged. I didn't,
Yeah.
you were here saying, I'm not paying enough, and I think I should pay more.
Well, when I saw the
We don't get many of
when I
those.
saw the first figure, I said to Justin, there's no way. But, and then the second figure was, still a lot of money. But there should be, like you said, there should be a delta of what he's already paid,
Right.
taken out. I mean, he wants to pay it, he wants to make the plaza a lot better. I mean, he's gonna invest a lot of money to make this work. So that's why I'm here, let's give a little bit of give and take here to get this
So-
done.
And his initial 8 ERUs, right, was for 2 stories, is that correct?
It was for the 2 stories and the restaurant. So that was for the total property. And then what I did, and I worked with Justin on this, we subtracted off that second story and then converted it to 7 ERUs and then calculated what the delta, what the remainder of the area is times the 100 per 1,000 and added those two together. So that was
Well, forget the other area, right, because they're not changing the bottom. So that's, the only delta is the top,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got a restaurant downstairs.
but that hasn't changed, right, they already paid.
That's
for
not
In
it.
changing.
aggregate, we're calling that,
We're calling the
it's the
whole-
way
okay.
it was bettered.
Oh, that's what I
Since
just,
there was no
that's
change.
how I'm figuring out.
Cause that was kind of the question in the
Okay.
beginning of how do you handle that? Yeah.
So was the math we were talking about incorrect? Basically 2,310 less 1,100-ish. That's my pen, isn't it? It got flipped over, sorry. So 1,200 gallons a day would be how many ERUs? 4?
1,200 times.
Sorry, 2310 minus, what's the other one?
1,100, because they already paid for 1,100, right? If it's 100 per 1,000 square feet, the top floor is 11,000 square feet.
Yeah, 11,274 times 2 was the total area.
No, but yeah, 11's not the, is
Just
that
up-
the top
just
floor?
upstairs.
Or is it the total area
That's the total area of 2 floors.
of the
Oh,
total?
so
So what-
it's half that. We don't touch the bottom.
Right, so we're not touching the bottom, so it's only 11,274 that has to come off.
Or
yeah.
half of the 11,000?
No, it's 2 stories.
Each are 11.
Each story is
Okay.
11,274.
So that's where you got your 1,127.
Yeah.
Then you're saying that's 12, that's 11,
Roughly 1,200.
1183. Yeah, I mean 1183 divided by 330, I get 3.58.
So 4 ERUs.
Yep.
And what
So
are we,
the math's still
what are we charging,
close.
what are we charging for an ERU?
11,617.61.
So 40,
$46,000. So Mike asked me to ask, is there anything you can do with that, since he's already paid the $92,000 to you guys?
Well, I believe that's by law, we have to judge that. Is that correct?
The betterment law?
You have to charge the betterment, and then the privilege, this is the privilege fee.
So this is
Yeah,
really a
I-
privilege fee
It's a privilege fee, yeah.
with a connection we already have, so we're
Because it's a
You're
change.
adding
changing
on-
use.
It's a change of use, you're adding.
understood.
yeah.
But I'm asking the board here, is there something you do with that? Can we cut it in half?
I don't think we can do anything. I think we'll have to get an opinion. I think it-
I'll be 100% honest with you, I won't be in favor of it, because we'd be setting precedents. And if we did it for this one here, everyone that comes in afterwards is gonna say, you did it for that one, why won't you do it for me?
And there's already been a precedent, we've had other plazas that were charged in that way with the full square footage, and then as their units filled up, if it was a restaurant or something that was gonna be more, we
We also-
subtracted out, Jack subtracted out the square footage from that unit, but then looked at the use and
Yeah.
charged it there, so we've already had a
We
precedent
already said it.
on this project, so that's,
And
I just wouldn't be, I wouldn't.
I don't
wouldn't
believe we
be
can change that. That's my personal feeling. I don't think we could if we wanted to.
Okay,
But I mean, like I said, I could be wrong, but I don't think we could if we wanted to.
well, that's why I'm here, is to ask. I mean, the worst you can say is
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, it's.
You know, so, I mean, I just, you know, when I was talking to Mike, he goes, Brian, talk to them, because I've already paid $90-something thousand. So, I mean, to anybody, it's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where he's gonna invest a lot of money into the plaza, I mean, I
But
don't know,
if he understood that we backed out the second floor already.
okay,
Yeah, you
so
got
I can
a credit
explain,
for everything
so
you paid for.
originally it was a lot higher number, I think the number was around $135,000, the first go around,
Which would make
between
sense,
Jack and my office.
because it's the two numbers.
Correct,
Yeah.
so we backed that down already once,
Right.
but when I told Mike, 46, he's like,
Yeah.
it's just a business decision, cause he's putting in a lot of money into the plaza, he's fixing the drainage, that's the other thing, is we're talking about this couple here. We're taking flow from the left of the plaza, where the lawnmowers guys are, we're taking flow from the sports center, it's coming through our site. We've had to redesign the drainage,
It's not coming through your site.
I'm sorry,
I said it's not coming through your site.
it is coming through our site.
I own the sports center.
Oh, you own the sports center?
It's not coming through your site.
Okay.
It's coming down the hill,
It's coming down,
but it's not coming off my property.
it's coming down the hill from somewhere,
That's right.
and it's going into the pond is flooding, and it's coming into our property. Now, we've had to make our drainage system take whatever flow is coming off of that pond, wherever the water's coming from.
The hill, because it runs downhill. Yes.
I've been in town 37
I got my
years,
PJ
that
today.
pond is always overflowing, every rainy season.
Yeah,
Anyways,
So, we're at 46.
46. That's the number? That's the number.
That's the number, okay. I'll send it back to Mike.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time.
There's one thing I wanna look at. We just said we were converting that, we were converting that space, so we subtracted it off, and then we added the new use. I realized we have to look at it not from the need that they had, but from the 8 ERUs. So there might be, that number could go down
A little bit
a
more.
little bit.
All
So
right.
I'll rerun the numbers later. Does that make sense? So like, they needed a certain amount of flow. It gets rounded up to the nearest whole betterment. That little bit, the 3.58 is what I'm showing that you needed. Maybe that 0.58 comes off and then all of a sudden you're down to 3. It might stay the same because it rounds, or it could potentially go downward. I gotta
you'll
check.
be able to pay your trip up here for 4 hours.
Buy you a cup of coffee.
By the way, I wanna tell you guys, I love the way you guys round. At Northeastern, we didn't have rounding like that, I'll tell you that.
It's always up.
There's no rounding.
You're at 10.1, oh, that's 11. All right, you're at 10.05, that's 11.
That's 11, yeah. It's easy to understand. That's right.
I think that's actually the betterment
confuse
rate.
people that way.
It is, no, it is.
To be honest with you, I've seen betterments where you go to the 2 decimal places, but then you get some condos that are like 0.66, so it's like 2/3, and then all of a sudden when you add 3 of them together, you don't get to 2 because it's 0.66.
Down,
Yeah,
So,
I
like,
get it.
no matter what, you lose it out.
All right, so you're gonna run the numbers again.
Yeah,
Hopefully
it's
we're gonna get a
probably
little-
4, but maybe it goes down to 3.
Okay, so
Okay,
at least I came and tried,
all
right?
right, sounds good.
Okay,
All right, nice to
thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you, see you guys. Thank you very much. Jack, always a pleasure.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, moving on, 501 Potash Hill Road Sports Center, new building.
Okay, so Darryl, can you sit there?
He's the guy that puts all the drainage in.
So last fall, there was a proposal, we were asked for comments for, it went in front of the Board of Selectmen. So the sports center is proposing to do a second building and have additional parking spaces. So at the time last fall, Wood and Curran had reviewed the plans, and there was enough original capacity that had been allotted to that parcel that the proposed changes were not gonna change anything. There was no privilege fee involved, there was still leftover capacity and so forth. A couple weeks ago, Dal had provided Sewer and Board of Health with a grease trap because there's a potential of maybe putting a restaurant in the new building. So with that said, I had asked Darryl to just confirm with me, let's sit down and go over what's existing, what's proposed, so I can send all that off to Jack, and then take the restaurant into the picture and see where we are, if that throws us off or not. So, you wanna take it from there, Jack, or?
Yeah, so we relooked at everything that's there and what was done, and basically the current use is using for the one property, it's using just under 15 ERUs, and there was 20 ERUs allocated, to that property. So I ran just the numbers, what would the restaurant math be at 200 seats? So that's 3,500 gallons per day average flow that we would compare. That converts out to about to 10.6 ERUs. So if you were to add a 200 seat restaurant for that single property, ultimately you would need 26 ERUs. So the property has 20, so you would have a privilege fee of 6 ERUs for that property by itself. I backed into, okay, so how many seats could you fit in without a privilege fee? And I got to 95 seats. A 95 seat restaurant could fit without a privilege fee. Then the question came up with the other adjacent property, that has a certain number of ERUs that are assigned to it that aren't currently in use. So if those two were looked at as a single property, then you would have the sufficient ERUs for the restaurant. So the question is, if it's looked at, if you're not using it for another use, what does anything formal need to be done with those two pieces to be able to use those ERUs on, I guess, a combined property or on the other property? And I guess the other piece, my understanding is that third property would be split and there would be a prorated thing on it, which I think is, that's been done
So
before.
you're talking the property that the
The
building,
parking lot property, there's it was converted into 3 condo properties.
Yeah, so we were assessed, there's a third lot of 4.2 acres. We were assessed, how many ERUs?
14.
14
14.
ERUs on that property, because we were gonna sell it. So the plan changed, we never sold it, we held on to it. I own 60% of it, Mass Crane, George Frost owns 40% of it. So I'm putting a parking lot up there, so there'll never be a building on 60% of it. So the question was, we paid for those ERUs, it's owned by me, can I basically take those and transfer them or mash them into a combined set of ERUs?
Darryl, are you officially, just for their information, that lot that you co-own, you guys are officially having it subdivided, correct?
That's right, yeah.
So it's going through the process of having that
Yeah,
subdivided.
because it's the whole thing is a condo, so it doesn't get subdivided necessarily, it gets allocated to both.
Which makes it
So-
more
So
achievable.
how many,
There's 20 ERUs assessed to the main property.
no, I'm talking about the third lot.
The third lot had 14, 60% of 14 is 8.4.
So that would give him more than enough.
Yes, yep.
So,
So why can't we just let him use that, and if something ever is built on it, then they'd have to be paid at that time, the
Wouldn't we-
privilege fee, but it's not a privilege fee because you're not building anything on it.
That's right.
what do we do?
So why not just,
The challenge is typically when you better a parcel, the flow is assigned to that parcel and it doesn't leave it. So if you had two completely independent properties, you can't, one person can't sell their flow to the other one, right? But here where it's a condo
I was just
and
gonna
it's
say, with the
and it's adjacent, it's my understanding that the assessor can, like even two regular properties that adjoin each other, they can combine them and it converts into one. So I guess that was the question, and I don't have the answer, whether it needs to be done formally to join it, or can just be done like you're saying, and
What's
just
my-
give credit.
What was done with Sycamore when that split up?
It was always split, so we're talking the opposite direction to join it. So
We're just
splitting was splitting's
No,
easier.
when we first going through the process, right, if you recall, Sycamore had a huge betterment, right? Because it was
Yeah.
all one property,
Yeah,
and then it broke down. So how did we go about doing
It-
that? And how was that legal?
that one was subdivided before the betterments were issued. But if a property is subdivided, you can allocate ERUs with each portion of the property. So there are provisions for subdividing it. There
Right.
aren't really provisions
but
for
it-
joining properties.
if he owns a lot, Mass Crane owns another lot, then there's a third lot, and they're gonna split that and each take
half,
that becomes two
roughly,
lots,
yeah.
not, you don't have three anymore. So 60% would go with lot
Well,
A, and 40% would go with lot B.
Well,
You're not
that,
gonna, if they subdivide and they make that two lots instead of three,
If they
you're not
make
just
it,
gonna toss.
no, agreed, yeah, if it's, and I guess that's all I'm saying is I'm not sure on the
so,
mechanics
I don't,
to do it.
I kinda agree with Fred in what he's saying, but the issue, I think, is just needs to be legal. You've gotta do it, make sure it
Exactly.
falls into the betterment laws, right?
Right.
And then somehow we gotta say, so maybe it's them subdividing that into two, whatever it is. Whatever it is.
That's what you did say.
Because we did that-
You're in the process of
Didn't
separating.
we do
We've always
that
done
at-
that,
Yeah, so it's,
Where the churches, didn't
Um,
we subdivide, there was some, was it,
The First Parish Church?
no, the church,
Oh, the Westford Road?
yeah,
Poten-
didn't we do something like that there too? We had to,
So
they
that,
had to do something,
that's their own, that's one parcel now, but they owned multiple ones. But, back to the legal language that you guys were talking about, that's why when I talked to Dal, I said, oh, this is probably the perfect time. If you're getting this, if you have to go through a lawyer to have this process done anyway and separate these out, that's where that language should probably, like, let's get this settled now so that it can be done through legal
Are you-
language.
Yeah, so right now it doesn't, we don't have the restaurant, we haven't applied for anything, so it doesn't really impact anything now.
Yeah. When you're done with this
So let's-
effort, will you have only 2 condos? Like, how many tax bills will there be when you're
That's
done
right,
with this?
Two. Mass
There's-
Crane will have one, we'll have one.
There won't
Yeah.
be 4.
No, that's right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah,
It'll
if
be
you're,
under, it'll be under the same entity.
yes,
The ownership, both will be under the same entity, so
so that, you're right, so that would be, that's exactly how it would shake out.
yeah.
It gets done legally, and then the EIUs get divided up, right, and
Yeah,
then you're good.
because there'll be a process, once we get something legal and word
So
on
we don't
that.
even have to do anything, once you do your stuff, I think, it's
Yeah.
gonna fall into the
It's gonna
betterment
fall-
stuff and we'll be
I would
good.
say we fall automatically,
Right.
right?
Right, exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
once they do their stuff, then we would just need to pass that on, and I'm sure it goes through their channels anyway, but make sure the assessor knows that, because on the betterment spreadsheet where, when they know how much principal to be billing on real estate bills, that will no longer be its own separate parcel, that will now be added to the sports center, will increase their principal load because it's
The
gonna be
balance will go
the 60% and the balance of
Right.
what your other
So
load,
let's see,
yeah.
and that'll be
balance.
done through your,
Yep.
your legal stuff.
So just
and-
keep us in the loop
and
when
we
you
don't have
go
to do
through your
anything,
legal
right,
process?
Right, that's, I
Yeah.
think that's all.
Yeah.
And I, maybe I have the wrong, but I know that happened before, with a piece of property.
I
So,
think it was a split. I remember
I'm-
we
I'm
had
not
the
exactly sure,
split.
but I vaguely remember that
Yeah.
same type of thing happening.
Yeah, and the other thing that makes this one more unique, I think, is because they're condos. Like when you go to the online GIS, it's shown as one parcel.
It's shown as one parcel right now.
But there are the three pieces. But
Right.
once it gets split and connected, I think that's easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's
Yep.
let's just make sure, and I think that'll be
Mhm.
how it'll be worked out. All right,
Can I come back now?
you can come back. Old business, discussion on sewer capacity, Jesus. Are we ever gonna get off this subject?
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're still there.
So, let's see. So we started to talk about this at the last meeting, but we didn't have time to really hit on it. So I don't know, Jack, if you wanna start with it, but there's certain things we're gonna need to, touch base on. Do
Okay,
you wanna start on
finally,
that?
yeah, I was looking for my email. Yeah, so I had emailed you a while ago about the capacity. So looking at all the bettered properties and the properties with approved connections, at the time that I wrote this, of your 350,000 gallons a day, you were down to 11,000 gallons per day of remaining capacity. And that's based on the last 12 months of flow through the 2 meters. That flow was up substantially from all like the last 5 years, so it was up like 20%. Of that 11,000, Tech Drive uses nearly all of it, so you're kind of right there. And I guess that's the big question of how to manage that last remaining bit of flow. And or are you talking sewer moratorium? How do you handle it? We did also talk about the Charles George landfill, and I think some of their flows have been up compared to what they've historically been at. Kathy did do some digging and found some design flows for them, which were actually higher. So that's a big question mark of what is the near term and long term for Charles George landfill. So I tried to do a little research. I mean, we don't have any answers yet on them. But from what I found online, there is some feasibility study to be performed later this year on a leachate pump and treat. And I'm like, so would that potentially treat their flow and not send it to the sewer? So I don't know if that's what that is or not. I think, from my discussions with Kathy, probably needs to be a meeting with them to understand what their flow projections are, or their foreseeable future. Unfortunately, that's a big drop in this bucket. So that really influences, I think, any decisions on capacity. So the sooner we understand where their flows are at, then you can answer a lot of these other questions. But it's a challenge, and with the high flow over the last 12 months, I mean, you're kind of right there. That the capacity project to remove any extraneous inflow, I think is gonna be really important. And we worked on the work plan to get through EPA for the approval to get chasing that in the spring. So I think that's that is on the tracks. That will help relieve some of that, but I think the Charles George flows
How
are.
long has the flow been up? Just the past year?
Yeah, the last 12 months was
Up by 50,000, I think.
yeah. So that's the graph, right? So the last year it went up by 50,000. So it's always been tracking up because as you did phase 1 sewer properties tied in.
Yes, I did look at it.
And regarding the Charles George, so one of the things that I had found was it's a design criteria and features report when they were building the pump stations and the sewer line for there. And in there it had like treatment phases, and the final phase, which was them connecting to sewer, had some language in there that they were starting this in fiscal '97, and that they plan to have that treatment for 30 years, which is 2 years from now. So I think it's really important if we can sit with DEP for a few reasons. What are your plans when that 30 years hit? Do you deem it clean what happens at that point? I just don't know what that means for them and for the sewer. And also with, DEP, I'd love to see, they provide us their sewer readings for billing. So everybody else, Paul goes to meters, as you know, around town for all the 3 intermunicipal agreements, and we bill based on his meter readings match the other town's readings. With DEP, I get it directly from DEP, but I'm not sure if it's a SCADA system they're using, do they have a physical meter? You haven't seen one, but I think that's something that Paul should really have access to, because that's the only one, I don't have something to double check that against, you know? So I do think, and if they aren't planning on coming off of this in 2 years, at the 30-year mark, is there a way, you know, Army Corps of Engineer had designed this, is there a way somebody can look into a way to divert clean rainwater, because all of these rain events are dumping huge amounts of water into the system, which is just stealing all this capacity
Right.
for everybody else,
From
right?
Charles George, you're talking?
From-
Right,
Yeah.
and so I understand fully they're the experts on when it's deemed clean, and if they say no, it needs to continue going in the sewer, that's fine, but are there ways to divert any clean rainwater coming down, preventing it from hitting that area, or diverting it some way, so that at least we're trying to save ourselves some capacity here?
Or as he said, treat and release, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
So, and that might be the plan, but
So-
we don't know, cause none of us really were.
yeah.
So do we know who to contact to see if they can,
So I would contact David Buckley, who is the person that sends us the readings. He's at DEP. But I think that if we could invite them into a meeting, just to kind of get an update and see, you know,
Yeah.
what was the intention of this, you know, it's as though, I guess EPA, hired DEP to like manage that site, is the way that my understanding is of all of it.
say you're a really good customer, but we want you to slow down?
Yeah, no, they're our best customer,
Yeah.
as far as
But-
gallonage, but,
Does anybody know if the people that are in charge at DEP that are running this site, they're the same group that would be forcing the city of Lowell to do the I&I that won't allow us to get more flow?
No, I think this is like
it a
the
separate
waste
group?
site cleanup group with the
Hazardous
super
probably.
fund.
So that's my point, right, does A know what B's doing, right? Because we're being held up because of A,
And
and
they're
B
causing-
won't allow us to do,
yeah, that's why
Right?
I think just think a conversation would be beneficial for everybody.
You had mentioned something in there about 30 years.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't
so,
know if that's.
yeah, so basically, phase 4, cause they had these 4 phases of treatment
Yeah.
on the site, and phase 4 was the one where we're gonna build the sewer extension, put in 2 pump stations,
Yeah.
and start treating it and putting it in the system. And that was going to be implemented in 1997, fiscal year 97, and they mentioned a 30-year, they said, we'll consider it permanent to 30 years.
Right.
So that's fiscal 27, which is 2 years away. So I just think it would be really important to see, what did you mean by that? What happens at that 30-year mark? Do you no longer put it in the system?
Maybe we should send the question to them and say, hey, your 30 years is coming up, what do you plan on doing?
I
You
do know.
We told you, you know, we agreed to let you do this for 30 years. Now you're starting to hurt the residents of Tyngsborough, because we're losing all this capacity every time it rains. And let them, you know, instead of saying, hey, what did you mean by that, and let them come in. Well, I think we should interpret as, they're done in 30 years,
But would
and see
you,
what they say.
would you be open to having a face-to-face meeting to have that
Yeah,
discussion?
sure.
And that, I
Yeah.
think that's more,
Yeah.
better, and then we can,
I
go
believe
back and forth and ask.
they actually stopped treating it a couple of years ago.
I think you're right. Didn't you
They're
say
not
that?
treating it
Yeah,
anymore.
some-
Yeah,
So what does, what does that
Right,
mean? Is it
right.
deemed clean because
Right.
enough years have gone by, and
Right.
so at this point it's just clean rainwater going in the system, or?
yeah, I have some notes here, cause they do a 5-year report, so I
Right.
skimmed that really quickly. But yeah, they don't treat it, except for they do have some biofouling, so they put in some citric acid to minimize that. But I do, my gut tells me that they have this report that they were supposed to do in 2022, that is now estimated for July to September of 24. I feel like that pump and treat report's gonna be the answer we're looking for, so they might not have that answer yet, but I definitely think you have to start with a meeting to at least see what they know and what they
And I think the
anticipate.
sooner
Tell me
the
what
better.
the same people that were here in 97.
Well, we have one of them here.
But we still have a capacity capacity issue at this point.
Yeah, as a side note to that discussion, there was a question at the last meeting about, when we kinda allocate stuff for like Technology Park, how long is that good for?
Right, so
And-
that's something we're looking to have you tell us,
And the second piece of that is, there were some things out of various, other rules and regs, updates that we should be making, based on some of the stuff we've gone through. There was some, best practices that we should update our regs to clarify things. So maybe we look at incorporating all of that stuff into a reg update,
okay,
based on what happened up the road, right, tightening up the betterment calculation and
right,
things
just
like
two
that.
different sets of regs, but
Yeah, right.
betterment regs and
Right,
regular,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So,
Cause like when, I'm applying to hold a liquor license for for that restaurant.
mhm,
You have 2 years basically with the ABCC to either use it, apply with a name and get the person up and running, or
you lose
it
it,
disappears, yeah. So they'll hold it for you for 2 years,
yeah,
which I think is probably a reasonable amount of time. We can discuss
yeah,
details about this, but if somebody comes in, you
Yeah.
should at least have the application and the money in within 2 years, otherwise.
Yeah.
so,
Really depends.
to your point, I have 5 parcels, on my list that were approved to connect. I've never heard from them again, and they go back to 2018, some as recent, so they run from 2 to 5 years. That I've just, you approved them at a meeting, haven't heard anything from them. Do you want me to send a letter, or do you want me to send a letter saying it's too late at this point?
Did
I
they
mean,
already pay the betterment?
nobody has even taken an application, paid a nothing. It's not a betterment, but no one has paid a connection fee.
They just kinda said, hey, we got this project, can you
For
hold it
whatever
us?" Yeah.
reason, yeah, and these were houses, so these weren't, anything large, but, they came before you wanting to connect a sewer, you allowed it, but then
They never
Are
did.
they
they never,
existing homes or homes to be built?
they were existing
Existing.
homes,
Existing homes.
yeah. So, am I to send a letter and say, if you're still interested, you have 6 months? Or am I to send a letter and say, it's been 5 years, we haven't heard from you, sorry, the capacity is no longer there, which it kinda is not.
It's not.
So,
And there's a few other ones in addition to those that were more recent, maybe a year ago, that have reached out just 2 months ago and said, hey, I'm getting my paperwork together, so I think they're kinda grandfathered, I would say, cause they've put
So
some
what are the
contact.
rules on that on houses? We have the sewer go by. Is there a timeline where it says?
I mean,
No.
not
No,
we
right.
haven't, no, I think we
The
should set
the only,
one
the
though.
only timeline that was on there was when Gower ran the sewer up,
Right.
that the board at the time allowed him to collect the tie-in fees for, I think it was 5 years.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was 5 years, that was before I was
Right,
even on the
right.
board. But they were, cause I remember when he was going belly up, he came in to try to get it extended.
Yeah,
I was on the board then and we did, the agreement was the agreement.
yeah, yeah.
And then it went to the town. But
I just don't think it's fair for folks that say verbally, and then we have somebody else that comes in and says, hey, I'm ready to go, and sorry, there's no capacity, because we have these ghost allocations that aren't quite
Right,
right. It's just-
right.
Well, see, I
It's
don't,
a
I don't think.
no-brainer. I mean, we gave them the opportunity to tie in, they didn't, so.
So everybody else on the list, they're active, they've either tied in or they're actively pursuing it. So those 5 people, do you want, some are 2 years old and some are 5 years old.
I mean, I guess to be
Um,
fair, sending them a note saying, you have until some date, whether it be 3 months or something, or whatever.
to at least file an application, right?
And then a date to connect by,
And that's only
Yeah.
good for 6 months.
cause we can't hold
6 months, yeah.
once they
months.
file the application, it's 6 months, right?
6
Right.
months,
So, what do you want me to tell them about applying?
but do we have the flow?
Well,
Yeah, houses, right?
Alright.
So,
I mean, yeah,
We don't.
that's 5 houses,
these are where? All on Fremont?
Dunstable, Worden, and Middlesex.
And they come in,
So the oldest one
plus.
came in October of 2018, so that was 5 years ago, last October. And the most recent of those 5 came in December of '21, so that's 2 years ago,
and we
December.
voted to allow them.
You voted to allow them, but they've never turned in application fee, nothing, I've never heard from them again.
Why don't we just take a vote to wipe them out, we'll send them a letter saying that, you know, they will have to reapply because of the time frame that they've waited,
That's fine with me.
Okay.
you know?
Well, some of them are 5 years, some of them are 2, so.
Yeah, so if you haven't done it in 2 years,
Yeah, 2 years is.
you know, 2 years is more than enough.
More than enough.
It's, somebody's where, my system's failing, I need to tie in.
So, if we don't do it,
You want me to just say that it's been several years since your approval, we have not heard anything from you. Please note if you are still looking to do this, you would need to come back to a future sewer meeting, and then
no,
depend.
just tell them they have to, fill out an application and pay, what's the process? So the application fee,
And the inspection, the application fee and the connection fee, they have to pay up
they-
front
right, so,
with an application.
so tell them that, that needs,
By September.
because it's been so
You
long.
wanna give them a little bit of time?
Give 'em a
September
little-
what?
Yeah,
Do we have, Jack, that capacity for 5 more houses after Tech Drive? And
Yeah,
after 130?
we got the capacity because these projects aren't built yet.
You have all the
That are better, you're saying?
reserved better flow.
Well, like,
I'm-
Twins Corner,
Oh,
they've been coming for 2 years saying they're gonna start building.
correct,
that's-
And
but,
we hear from them every 6 months.
Do
but we have a
it?
memorandum of agreement with them, that's
Still?
the difference.
When
Yeah,
is- When is that good till?
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's,
but we haven't got any money from them.
yeah,
so Jack is currently in the process of working with them on that, so if that's how you feel, I think we should probably put a date into that agreement, like, because that's almost finished, right? You guys are just updating language? And they were looking
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, I mean, well, so we had reviewed, remember, there was the discussion of when they would have to pay for the buildings and whatnot. Well, with these increased flows, we were relying on the previous flows that would allow some balance in the pump station discharge in that smaller sewer. We've lost the confidence that they could start building and have excess capacity there, so our response is that you would need to build the infrastructure upgrades, so
First.
for any
First.
buildings, for
First.
all of it. So, and they're looking at rental units, and I think they're doing more smaller units, but they would have to just build first, so it kind of takes the money out of the equation and all of that, because they would just build the upgrades before they'd get a CO. So that was the plan there,
but even with that, you may wanna, I mean, if you're talking about putting a date in, right, because the flow's counted in the numbers being reserved because of the memorandum of agreement, so if you wanna
yeah.
put some language in to say,
So,
They haven't applied to the town for anything, right? There's no planning board stuff going through that.
well, they're in the process,
I-
the latest we heard, which was maybe a month ago, because before the town planner left, he had a Zoom call with them all. Their attorneys were and everything, they said they're absolutely moving forward with this, but they had to do some, site testing, I think under the parking lot in front of the existing plaza, they had to do some site testing, and then the next step was the permitting. So what they told us a month or two ago is they're absolutely moving forward with it, and then while we were on the call, I said, you know, we still need to get that agreement updated, because now if it's changing to rental units, and like Jack's saying,
Yeah, it changes.
the work almost needs to get done before,
have they bought the property yet?
I don't know.
It's probably contingent on getting approvals. They wouldn't buy it without an approved set of plans.
right,
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, and
that's typical.
And I didn't get an answer on the actual number of units, it was just, we know the certain amount of flow that was approved, so they've indicated they're staying within that, with more units, but same flow.
Oh, I mean, it's only my personal feeling is, I'm not gonna deny a homeowner the right to tie in, but they're trying to decide what they wanna do, if they wanna have 90 units, or if they wanna have 100 units. You know, if we have that extra flow on what they showed us, let the houses tie in, and, hey, you know what, you can't increase it. You said 90, that's what you got.
Yeah, with their original plan, would 5 more house lots be a problem?
They're staying with the flow of, the previous developer, which was an extra 27,000 gallons a day, is what the new developer is sticking with. They're gonna do the buildings in a different configuration, there might be 2 instead of 3, I think, higher
But
or
they're
something.
staying
No,
20
But they're
something.
staying,
Yeah, they're
yes, but they're
staying
not
at-
asking for more flow.
Yeah, they're staying at their number, but according to my math from the last 12 months of flow, you had 1,500 gallons of flow. So yes, the 5 houses would go in there, but then your numbers are right there, but also Charles George kind
Well,
of
that's assuming
makes that all be
That's
a-
assuming all 5 say yes from 2 to 5 years ago.
Yep.
Right.
I'd roll the dice there, but that's maybe one.
So, when I
Maybe
reach
not.
out to those 5 people, you want me to say if you're still in, capacity is extremely limited, if you're still interested, we need you to come in with, the check and the application within, what, 30 days, 60 days? What do you want me to give them for that?
How about the, 30 days for the application and maybe
Well, we-
maybe 90 for the time fee?
We always get
Always
it
get
at
it
the
the
same
same
time.
time.
Yeah, I don't,
Alright,
yeah.
so, I don't know, what's a reasonable time?
How much is it for?
Well, we do offer the covenant, I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
finances was an issue,
Yeah, so they don't even have
So
to
it-
say
there really wouldn't
they
be
do
a-
covenant.
blockade
Okay.
So
there.
they come in with, what?
Application fee they would have to pay, which would be
Yeah.
$250, and then the application itself, and then the connection fee would be $49.50, because they're all existing homes, as long as they're all single-family
Right, but the
homes.
49.50 would be paid over 20 years.
If they wanted to, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
So
they'd
the-
have to sign up for that.
So,
So I'd say give them 30 days.
okay,
Okay. All right, and then,
Once the
Maybe on
permit, once
that
they
out.
get the permit, it's only good for 6 months.
right,
It's 30 days are already.
right,
a month.
I'm gonna point that out in the letter, that the
Okay.
paperwork, once they do bring that in, that's only good for 6 months,
So
to
if
get,
they-
to have
if they
the
don't-
connection done.
They
Yeah,
don't
they-
tie in at the 6 month mark,
Yeah,
but they already paid,
so.
they're gonna have to repay all over again.
At least the application fee.
Yeah, we don't
They're not doing
typically with the
49.50.
connection
No.
fee, yes, but the application inspection
But
fee.
At that point, they have it reserved. We can't take it
Yeah.
away from them.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else on capacity?
Yeah, so, sorry. So, long story short, as you know, the grant, the fiscal '24 CDS grant to study, investigate, and do the rehab on the flow going to Chelmsford of the old lines to try to buy ourselves some capacity here. We had got awarded in the spring, and we were in touch with, EPA, who said, they are still dealing with the fiscal '22 and '23 awards. So they were gonna reach out to us when the time came that they could work with us. Because of our dire need right now, because of all this flow that's been coming in with the storms, we reached out to them, I reached out to them last week, and the same contact person we have would be taking on ours again, so they're allowing us to move forward. So I got the grant, Jack got us the work plan yesterday, we got the grant in yesterday, all the paperwork. And it looks right now like we're okay to move forward on their schedule, which is to begin investigations in November, because we told them we really wanted to be able to have that spring window from January to April when all the flows come. And so they understood and they agreed to that. The only thing they said is, we have to apply, so we have the amount that they're gonna give us, and that's fine, that won't change, but you have to apply for that funding in 2 different, applications. The first one is investigations and design, because that does not require a NEPA study, because you're not cutting into the road and all that. So that we can go ahead and start on, and then once Woodard and Curran does the investigation and says, okay, we see you're gonna need repairs and road cuts, at the corner of this street and this street, and we have, physical locations, we then have to provide that information to EPA, because there's a tribal and a state review, they have 30 days to review the area, and then once that passes and you get your NEPA determination, then we can apply for the second part, which is the construction itself. But instead of holding up the whole project, they're gonna let us at least start so we can get the investigations done when the weather is wet. So, I mean, that's all really good news, because we would have had to wait potentially a couple of years to get this rolling, so I'm very thankful that they were willing to work with us and saw that this was an issue, and that our contact was willing to take on more work, because they're swamped over there right now. So anyway,
Good.
that's all I got on, anything else on capacity, Jeff?
No, that was it.
All right, discussion on sewer garage.
Okay, so,
Oh,
oh, sorry, did you have
did you
something?
skip asset management plan?
Oh,
Yep. You think I did that for a reason?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, asset management plan.
Alright, so we updated, our, proposal on it, and then I printed this table a little too big by accident, but anyway. We're presenting 3 alternatives, so this includes doing a lot of the assessment of your system, from the collection system and the pump stations, and punting on the software, and the software could be a future phase. So this was going through, doing, the whole pump station assessment, taking the GIS, updating that with more information, and doing some condition assessment. And the difference between the 3 alternatives is how much condition assessment we do. So there's $14,000 of TV inspection in alternative 1, there's $30,000 in alternative 2, and there's $55,000 in alternative 3. Alternative 3 was the full amount that the grant would actually allow. So that was, that's how that number was baked in. And then the other ones are just different scenarios of how much inspection we would do. So in the table towards the bottom it shows the breakdown of 60% grant, and then Chris did some math to see how much of Paul, Kathy, and Doug's time supporting this, and that was the 4%, and then the 36% would you would pay directly. So we have the total project cost, and then what the engineering agreement would be. So that's all on here, but there's the 3 alternatives, but this includes getting a capital plan coming out of this report. And again, like, this effort would be completed started towards the end of next year.
So the alternates are task 1, 2, 3? Those line up with alternate 1, 2, 3?
No, the alternates, the difference between the alternates is doing all of task 1, 2, and 3, but it's just how much TV inspection gets done. So the difference in the alternatives is really task 2.
Oh, I see, okay.
It's either a very limited TV inspection, a moderate, or doing the $55,000 worth
Well,
of
you
inspection.
put in 80% of the sewer in this side already, so you should know what that looks like.
I don't know about 80%, but yeah, you have the new sewer.
Okay, and then how much should you TV on the other side for the infiltration?
Oh, I should know that answer, but let's
You
just,
should.
so we put in, what, 5 miles of new sewer on this side.
Yeah.
I think we TV'd, I'm gonna say 30,000 feet of sewer on the other side. And then the other thing to keep in mind is the Chelmsford, the capacity study, the earmark that Kathy was just talking about, that includes TV inspection. I think that includes 5 days of TV inspection. So, what is that, maybe 10,000 feet of inspection. So you're gonna get some, that's gonna be like a chunk of inspection. And then this is
Are we
just
gonna be inspecting stuff we've already inspected, or?
that, the Chelmsford one, no, right? That's gonna stick on just II issues here, but some of, that's gonna be a question on some of this. We might choose to look at, a couple spots, given the high flows that we've seen. But I think most of it, you're looking at other spots, other locations.
How many feet of pipe do you have on the other side?
Well, you have like 150,000 feet of pipe overall. It's less than that, right? But I believe, I would say more than half is on the east side.
So about 75,000 feet?
Yeah, call it 75
You've done
and
30
60
you've done 30
here.
You've done 30,000 already. Okay.
We might be under 30,000, because that sounds like a lot.
You gave me the
Yeah, it's between 10, I know it's between 10 and 30,000. It was more than I thought we did when we last looked it up.
So the bold
Does it
number may go
say-
down, 55's very high. It may be dropping.
He's gotta go rerun the numbers.
No, hold on.
I
Town-
gotta get to my computer.
No, right here. There's a condition assessment dating back to 2018 for about 30,000 linear feet. Yeah, we did. We inspected 30,000. Maybe some of the 30,000 was on this side. I'm not sure.
I think,
So you
Yeah,
have about
but some-
45,000 that you haven't done yet on the other side.
Dunstable Road.
So,
Yeah.
so with, with that table, because that's in your asset management proposal, these numbers, did you take that into consideration? You took that into consideration, right?
Well-
And you're not counting the one for the grant, and then did you take into consideration a lot of the ones you guys have already done?
I mean,
Like
yes,
this-
we're
Yeah.
going to continue to build the repository,
Yeah.
of data, yeah.
But I think,
But-
the point that you were saying too about looking at some of the ones that were just done, we kind of talked about going back to double check some of those anyway, right? Because over near Drake it, where we were getting those really high flows, and some of those areas have been done, we wanted to make sure things were working, and
Yeah.
did we see a difference in that? I mean, that, we had had that in talk in the past, right?
Yeah, if we're getting the benefit of asset, compilation and leakage, certainly would be a plus. If we're running the camera down, we can see, oh, we've got a problem here, there,
Mhm.
and also we're checking, this is a manhole, 6 inch by 8 inch, all that stuff, be worth the while.
Yep.
So somewhere 90 grand our contribution, and that would be fiscal
26,
Six.
but the way the grant works, we would have to put all the money up front, and then, so we'd be putting in the full amount, that you guys see, and then they would be reimbursing us 60%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way Paul and I talked about it, just for our opinion, whatever, you guys decide what you wanna do, but, we kinda think while you're doing it, just do it and get as much done as you physically can, because with this one, they're gonna produce that capital improvement plan, and the spreadsheet where everything is listed, age, condition, prioritized, to use as a tool for budgeting, we can say what needs to be replaced next year and so forth, so I think the more you can include in that while we're getting that done, the better off you are, you're
Yeah,
just
sure.
covering more of your system and covering yourselves in that way, the liability of it, but whatever you think.
So you're saying we should go,
Task 3.
With
The
three,
alternative
yeah.
3 with the most inspection.
so that'd be, we'd have to budget 150, and we get reimbursed
No, you
60.
We'd have to budget 240, the
240,
full
the
thing,
whole
and
thing.
they would
250.
reimburse us.
You get no 150.
You have to I'm assuming you have to budget the 250, but same thing.
That's what it seemed like Chris had said when she did the presentation, right, that you'd have to budget the full amount?
Yeah, the full amount, although it's weird though, cause you have the in-kind services, but yeah, you have to, I think you have
Or
to
prove
budget,
to them that you have it budgeted.
yeah, you budget the 250, but then you just reimburse at the percentages. It's weird that they make you
And
do
that's
that,
the,
but they do.
that's the highest, that's assuming, we
And
don't,
that
we don't
includes the
get.
software, correct?
No
No,
No software.
this is not
This is
software,
just
this is
collecting
everything
it
but
into
the
a-
software.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah,
alternative 3
GIS.
included the software.
No, no,
Because with the software too, we were talking,
Oh.
and remember there were gonna be some that had really high annual maintenance fees and everything else, and I think seemed to be designed for a bigger community than we are. I don't know, I think,
Capturing the data is the key. You
that's
do with
how I
whatever you
feel,
want.
yeah,
Right.
If later on you want to buy a system, you import it in and.
Right.
yeah,
and I think
Did you
that's,
ask,
yeah.
yeah, did you ask Colin about the software?
So we had talked to Jake, cause he has the stormwater management that they had done. They use, I forget the name of the
Uses it.
program, but
but ultimately the Esri
ultimately,
GIS ones,
yeah.
he's using some portion of them.
yeah,
And-
and I think, he has an engineering firm that he had gone through, and they are, like, if they get to the point they're doing the capital improvement plan, they kinda manage that data for them, so it wasn't the type of thing that we were gonna jump in together and do this, however,
So-
the data would be available for
So
all to use.
could we go the other direction and jump onto them?
So
It-
once you have the stuff, you can put it in there, right? Yours is
Yeah,
just a
so
I
data
mean, it's
a
collection.
lot-
not, it's not really
Brian,
a-
a lot of what he was doing, he had a couple softwares for certain things that he's doing, but I think it was GIS, the Esri software based, for the stormwater. I think at this point that we're kind of paralleling that a little bit, but I'm thinking once the data's collected, and he's using it and seeing how all of the different systems are working, that's where that next phase, you could buy a single platform and put a lot of this on it. But I think this allows you to get the data and start using it and understanding how what the benefits would be, because this, unfortunately, all the software packages, they all have they all have a lot of benefits, but they also have some challenges, and it's hard to always know what's most important until you start using the data.
And with these proposals, you would get, an end report, as well as, you're gonna have your full picture, for the most part, to use for budgeting, at least to say, so when we sit down every year, what do we wanna budget next year in capital? Do we wanna replace this we have a tool to begin working with, and then from there,
Yeah.
I think you can see, you guys can decide if you wanna, the following year, try to get some like, whatever you think, is that tool working? Do you feel you need more? Like, a lot of the stuff Chris had been presenting to us too was with work orders and stuff, which we don't, she's like, it'll make it
So-
easier, we don't use those yet.
So if we do this, we just, authorize you to apply for the grant, basically, right? Then we're gonna budget it in.
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, they apply for the grant, Woodland County
Yeah,
applies for it.
yeah, we'll do the application, we're already, I think, starting it, it's due by the end of this month. So that'll go in, and it actually, you appear on the intended use plan, just like if you're using the SRF construction money. So you appear on that, and then you just have to have the money funded by June 30th of next year. So you're right, this is mostly, just telling us, what you're applying, what you want us to apply for, and then next year will be your commitment into doing it.
So we'll be done with garage dollars by then, right? Because we did last year and this year.
Well, I need to talk to you about that when we get to sewer garage.
There's more good news?
Well, it's just, do you wanna
Yeah, go
talk
ahead.
now, or, okay?
It's not like Woodard and Curran where the prices are going down?
No, so as you know, as you know, with the garage, we budgeted 100,000 in fiscal '24 and 200,000 in fiscal '25 for our agreed upon 300,000. So, I spoke with Colin last week, and there was a delay in some of the work being done, the product, so they don't, and in addition to that, they had a grant that they were drawing from first. So, long story short, our 100,000 that we budgeted in fiscal '24
Going
did not
back-
get used.
Back to retained.
It didn't get, it's going back to retained earnings. So, he had said, he's anticipating getting, an updated, planning schedule next week, and at that time wanted to sit down and talk about when that 100,000 will come into play. So my questions for you all is, my first thing I would ask would be, do they foresee any of this work carrying into fiscal '26? And if so, that's an easy fix, we just budget that 100,000 into fiscal '26. If they think it's all gonna be wrapped up in fiscal '25, we had already budgeted 250,000 under capital in fiscal '25 for, in case you wanted to follow up with a design for the alternate areas of phase 3-5, the ones that you thought you may never do, but said maybe we should design them just in case. So I didn't know if you wanted to do a portion of that in fiscal '25, and we could take 100 of that for the garage, but I think ideally, if there's still work going on in '26, we just budget in '26, but I don't have those answers yet, I need to sit with them first and say, do you need the full 325, or?
Can't we just do that at the fall town meeting?
Well, I would not suggest that you transfer money at the fall town meeting into your fiscal '25 budget from retained earnings, because we are using a lot of fiscal '25's retained earnings to balance our budget. So if you're gonna do something from fiscal, I'd do something you've already budgeted for, cause there was not that you're gonna use all of it, but if you do,
Yep.
you really wanna leave some for emergency purposes, so
We can do
I
it in
would.
the spring.
What's that?
In the spring we could do it. In the spring.
In the spring
Yeah.
when no emergency has happened? Is that what you're saying?
By May,
Yeah, you
pretty
could.
clean, you'll see how the budget's looking.
You could, but if they say, oh yeah, this is gonna continue into fiscal '26, you could always just budget
it's
them,
no big
because
deal, yeah.
the 100 that's closing
No,
out,
no, it makes
you
sense,
can't
makes
use
sense.
till '26 anyway, so it's like that 100's going there in your retained earnings.
Worst case scenario, we would cover it in the bid.
Yeah, that's right, sorry.
Why worry about it?
So I guess I wanted to see from you all when I sit down with them, what
So how-
options did you like? for me
So,
to-
what are you recommending with that and then this asset management?
So this is until fiscal '26, I think you're fine with that. It's the fiscal '25, we had 300 for the garage, you had two something left to still finish the design, you had another 250 for the alternate design. We have a lot of line items in fiscal '25 that are capital, that are very expensive, that are very heavy,
So you don't need us to take a vote on anything.
I don't need you to take a vote, if you're okay with that, I mean, I think we're fine with budgeting that in fiscal '26 with whichever alternative you
Well, we should
want.
probably take a vote to authorize it to start, right?
I would, yeah, probably, for them to,
Yeah, I think 90 grand or whatever it ends up being to get all that done and the camera stuff is,
Makes sense.
makes sense, yeah.
while they're out there,
But, yeah, what, if we're getting 2/3 of it paid for, seems like a no-brainer.
yeah. And I'd almost, you just don't know how long that grant's gonna last. I mean, hopefully it's around
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
but if it isn't and we
Should we-
only did a small portion,
You won't
it's
make a
kind of a
motion.
waste.
Sure. Do we have to have the amount?
We need to do it.
Or just to go ahead to,
Well, probably
I
both,
think,
right? More
sure,
than-
yeah, I mean, it's 250,000.
what happened to 240?
The 240 is.
They round up.
Oh, and then, and plus the 10 in-kind.
The
if we don't
in-kind
use it.
services.
Yes, I
Let's
see.
get speed.
Jack on his own time is worth it.
I gotta be quicker, huh?
Yeah, you gotta be quicker.
So make a motion to approve the,
300.
Tyngsborough wastewater asset management plan, project narrative that we received tonight for dated July 8th, allowing them to, apply for the grant, for a total cost not to exceed $250,000.
I'll second that.
Motion in a second. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Perfect. All right. So we did asset management and the garage, correct?
So just back to the garage for a sec, so, so, I just wanna get your feedback, so when I sit with them, if it can wait till '26, we budget in '26, and if it can't in '25, then we'll wait till special town meeting or we hold off on doing that alternate, or only do a portion of that alternate design.
Yeah, we'll know.
We'll talk
I
more
can't
when we.
believe the
Not a
garage would go into
Yeah, I
26,
think
but
those are good recommendations.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay,
All right, I&I program, didn't we already discuss I&I?
we did, I don't have anything
Yeah, I
else,
don't have
right?
any update.
Well, the only thing I got for I&I is Jefferson, the manhole leak.
That's
I haven't heard,
outstanding.
it's still outstanding, and Dan, Chris from Commonwealth sent Dan numbers.
We got the quote, it was like $2,500
Right,
to
so I haven't heard
repair.
anything since.
And Dan was trying to push them to see if they would just make the repair.
And that's
I don't-
what,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what,
kinda where it was,
yeah,
so,
alright.
How are they gonna repair it?
what?
How?
It's a precast thing, it's just at the joint, it's at the shiplap joint in the manhole. But it's also right behind the
Inside
the
drop.
inside drop, so it's like, you know, harder to do than whatever. But I think it is. I mean,
Have Carlos do it.
who?
Carlos,
Carlos. Okay.
he's good.
I think they're gonna want to get paid for it. Is the conclusion. So I think they'll want the 2,500. But we're trying to see if they'll just do it.
I mean, we can't do it with hydraulics, man?
Well,
I
actually,
mean, a seam is not a big deal to
It-
fix.
I mean,
Well, the amount of water that was
I
coming
was
through it.
gonna say, Paul. It's
Yeah,
probably a lot
no,
less
it's-
right now.
There's an easy way of doing that.
It was ripping before. I mean, it was a waterfall. Like,
Yeah. Well, what you do is you take a piece of black iron pipe, you bang it in, so the water comes out through that. You cement, you hydraulic cement everything up to it, and then you just put a cap on it. Been done a million times.
I hear that as a volunteer.
but it
Community contribution.
They
yeah.
cut my paycheck in
In
half.
kind.
In kind service.
I'll bring the pipe after next meeting.
All right.
But yeah, well, the flow might be dropped a lot. Maybe it's an easy
Yeah, we haven't
fix.
had a lot of rain.
But
What
that was
about
a
that
big-
stuff they used on the pump station? Goddamn.
Is that?
But you said that would be-
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, and this one's just to seal it. I mean, it's like a wide open
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
No, we used to do that all the time. You start at one side, push all the water to it,
Yeah.
to the other.
But the problem is though, the water is literally coming straight behind the drop. So it's like, do you remove the drop?
Put a
Or do
90
you,
on the pipe.
Right, but normally if you,
What?
even,
Put a 90 on the pipe.
no, but it's hitting right on the back of the
yeah,
pipe. It's like
if
so.
you were to put the pipe on the side, as you fill it, as long as you can get your hand behind there,
Yeah.
the water's gonna come out the least resistant, so it's gonna move it over to that what.
Yeah, push it, yeah, I hear you. Okay.
I'm just
Alright.
thinking too, like, when Paul investigated a little while ago, it was flowing pretty heavily, so we probably wanna get on that, like, soon, right?
Yeah, before
To
we-
save
Should be
ourselves
less
the pennies
now,
at the,
Oh,
You get
it's nothing.
at
capacity,
the,
you break it.
at the flow.
It's nothing.
We're paying for that.
All right, you on that? Perfect.
Wait, am I repairing it?
No, you're gonna get it done.
We'll
All
get
right,
it done.
Toll Brothers Enclave.
So the update to that is, I mean, we're developing a punch list for them to finish, so, trying to make sure everything is on that. Paul, do you have anything else?
We have the punch list, the punch list is out, they've been fixing stuff slowly but surely. I just added a few more things, I talked to Jason the other day, I just added a couple more things on it that needs to be fixed, that,
Yep.
he was aware of.
Okay.
So,
Just me?
Yeah, that's, the latest toll escrow 53G
Oh, it
account.
says right on here, sign number 11 for engineering review account.
But they
So
will
is
be
this
back
for
in,
Woodward and Curran as well?
It's Toll yes,
It
it's
is.
Toll
Toll
Brothers,
paying it.
Toll Brothers is paying that one.
136,000?
They've
Another
already,
one?
they've already
To
paid it,
To date.
they've already paid it, and there could be one last small one, but we're trying to, this has been not an efficient project,
Mm.
not
They've already-
due to us.
They've already paid,
Yeah, it sounds like.
So this is
a lot
another-
of that's, they're doing, yeah, could have been done a lot
I
better,
proposed
Lot less
ideas
expensive.
many times, but
yeah,
we're also now on the third person from them.
yeah, right.
Just make sure you get your final billing before, they get their last occupancy permit.
Yeah.
so they paid,
Well, we get the
everything's been
check.
paid, 126,000's been paid, and now we're adding
Upfront.
10 to that?
Yeah, we're at, yeah,
What if I
that,
don't-
you
This
have the
one's
check
just
for
the
that
10.
amount as
Yes.
well.
If I don't sign this, then what? You don't get paid?
Then I don't get paid, it would work for free.
Again?
Again, so I'll compliment them.
While we're on toll, Fred, not the last meeting, but the
What's
meeting
today?
before, when
11?
there were several startup attempts
7-11?
that didn't happen,
7-11?
you had, wanted me
Kathy,
to
you wanna
track,
type the data?
what's that?
You can type the data,
Sure.
you know, professional.
So you had asked me to track the time of me, Paul and Doug. So, I mean, since then they have, everything's good, but, just to get back to you, cause I don't know if you want me to actually follow up on this. So for the three of us, the time wasted on startup attempts that didn't happen came to $791. Is that something you want me to pursue, not pursue?
I would say send them a bill.
This was for what?
So
Wasted time.
when the Colburn Road generator startups were scheduled, didn't happen, you know, Paul and Doug would go on site, or, you know, there was situations with, the National Grid thing that they had me doing a bunch of stuff. So anyway, long story short, Fred had asked us to track the time, cause he wanted to see if Toll would reimburse that, or was gonna ask Toll to reimburse it.
They told Paul and Doug to be there, they were
Yeah,
there, and
they
then
canceled.
they didn't
Yeah.
show up.
I think that's fair.
So I
Yeah.
included
We
in
can take
time.
it out of the amendment 11.
We can't, cause that's a 53G, but good try. So, okay, so
I
do you
was
want me
gonna
to
suggest
pursue this? Okay, I will, I'm letting you know you may see pushback because, I've been sending them all of the National Grid bills because they still own the pump station. And at the last one, they were like, hey, everything's running, you have other people using this at that point, we said yes, but we have not had final completion yet, there's still work that needs to be done, so they are still paying for those as well, I just wanted you to
Oh.
know that.
What are we,
And
what
are-
are we talking for that?
Was that?
A few $100?
Yeah,
Are we
Each
switching
month.
over now? Cause,
No, what do
no,
you mean switching over?
the account, the payment for the account, I
Not
thought we
until
were
the whole
switching over
station's
now.
100% complete. Final completion, then it's a year warranty.
Okay,
Right now, we're just doing them a favor by letting them use the pump station,
okay,
because they can sell, houses.
yeah, okay.
All right, future phases?
No update, we're still working on our side, we're rolling.
What's Corner development,
we already
No-
talked about that.
no flow. Phase 1 west discussion, 95, 97 Westford Road Mobile. Nothing?
No, the plan's being designed for Sportsman's Club, that's all.
50 Westford,
Nothing new,
Phase 2 sewer project.
I don't have anything.
Sewer administrators report.
There's the long part.
So I have meeting minutes to be approved from June 13th. I have sent those to you all, a while back.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 13th,
Yes.
2024 as printed.
Do the motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, wait till I finish reading these, cause I can. All in favor? Opposed, abstained?
Okay, and then I have bills
Test
warrants, oh, you're abstaining, all
I
right,
wasn't here.
that's right, okay.
It
One
doesn't matter,
abstain.
it's still
Okay.
a procedural motion.
I have two other, fiscal 25 Wood and Current contracts, Brian, that would need your signature on
I
them.
put them on hold.
One is general services and one is legal support. And I have, bills warrants for you all to review.
We need a motion for these, right? 'Cause of
Yes,
the dollar amount.
yes.
Is the sewer garage tied to Brock's doing his thing? So-
Yes.
So if that doesn't get done, we could,
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
they're
not-
bringing in the utilities, is my understanding, so any delays, I think probably, you need to have that done as part of the process.
in worst cases, we put in a septic system if we had to.
Yes, worst case scenario.
Oh, is this for the,
So there's general services,
Yeah, and
and
this
then
is
there's
for
a
the,
legal
yeah.
support, yeah.
gotcha.
Once you're done signing, the general services says no disparaging remarks about the consultant. So it's in there.
We exited it.
Oh, they get worse.
It's under the terms and
It
conditions.
says fine print on the back.
So a motion to approve amendment number 24, fiscal year 2025 general services between the town of Tyngsborough and Woodard and Curran in the amount of $25,000.
I'll second that.
Second and further discussion, hearing seen none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
These are the same, right, basically.
One's for legal, one's for general
And they're-
services, legal support for the cases.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yep.
So, motion to approve the engineering services agreement between Woodard and Curran and the town of Tyngsborough Sewer Commission for engineering legal support services in the amount of $25,000 T&M.
I'll second that.
Motion is second, further discussion, hearing seen none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
And I just have one other item, which is good news for me. So now that we are the DPW, they have, the woman who was the admin for the highway department is now admin for DPW, which means there can be some shared services. So we had a meeting this week, and, they asked if there was anything I could use some help with, which is really good, because there is stuff I could use help with. So a few hours a week, she would, she's actually going to take over transcribing the meeting minutes for me, cause everything is now recorded, as you know, on the video, so she can watch it, transcribe it. She has templates of mine from the past to see. And also, to help, I'll check over all the bills as they come in, meaning the vendor payments, but she could enter them in the system for me, which is super helpful, especially once a month when we get all the National Grid. They're just very time consuming. So I'm thrilled to hear that. It's a big help to us. She's gonna do some work for the DPW director, sewer department, in addition to her regular duties. Most of it is for the highway, but she has a few extra hours a week to try to help out other departments, so that was good news.
The, generator's all in, or is that just a payment?
So, what we did with that is, I sent them an email and said, anything you have up to June 30th, at least send me a bill for that. So that was the generator itself and whatever else they did. The rest of it hasn't been installed yet. They're gonna do that in this fiscal year. And same thing with the Bridgeview grinder, the electrical work, and they had fabricated,
Yeah, all the electrical.
frame.
They
That
did the
got,
frame.
it's getting paid for by June 30th, and anything they do to install it after will be in the next fiscal year. But we needed to get that money, in the appropriate years, you know?
So when is generator expected, progress?
They had a delay on it, so it should be within the next couple of weeks. You know how it is, everybody's on vacation now.
Weston and Sampson, 2325, says Failings Pump Station.
Yeah.
That was feelings.
Yeah, you had pump issues out there.
Oh, what was it?
Yep, that was a while ago.
they had pump issues at Phalanx, that was from, February, no,
How bad?
May,
May,
maybe?
May.
Yeah,
With
we
Bill.
just got the bill though,
Pump issues for,
at Phalanx?
yeah, I know, but,
Oh,
clogged up, or are they burnt out, gotta replace them?
All the pressure sensitive valves like, got clogged, and then, you know, we had to replace them. I have the spare parts, so.
And then I saw, Bridgeview grinder, 18,000, that must have been a pump.
no,
I'm
so
not sure.
that's
That's the grinder
That's
that we
the
haven't put in
grinder.
yet, it's gonna be put in.
They
had to
did
manu-
electrical work.
They did the electrical work and they did manufactured the box that has to go on the wall. And this year they're gonna do Middlesex also, they're gonna take the grinder we have there and they're gonna put that one in too. It's already been, you know, priced out.
And there's no, I was gonna say, there's no lawyer bills, but yes, there are.
Yes,
I-
there
Yeah,
I
there
missed
is.
those.
Don't be silly,
Not,
Darryl.
not horrible, yeah, that's right.
Other than, well, because there was only 1 0.
Yeah, 4 digits.
All right, we need a motion to approve the bills warrants, or that's just for information, thank you. Senior foreman's report?
Well, we just spoke to half of the stuff. Basically, we're gonna be doing some wet well cleans coming up. I got some manhole covers I gotta replace, one on Davis, Linwood, and Coben. But that's not gonna happen until sometime in August. So everything's running pretty good, so it's just,
Yeah, just a question on, speaking of manhole covers.
Yes,
The project on Lakeview Ave, right, so when that goes out to bid, I don't know if you know the answer to this, I was hoping Jake was here, I wanted to ask him. Did they include that in the bid, that those were gonna be replaced, or did they just note that if it needs to be replaced, they get it from the sewer department? How
you could
did-
probably answer that because you went out, you talked to them and then went out and bought them, correct?
well, basically, we always bought them,
Yeah,
and they paid to replace it. So as long as they have the manhole covers, they replace them.
yeah. So Paul knew this project was coming up.
Right, but my point is, none of us knew that, right? I don't know how many manhole covers you bought, right? So
No.
this has gotta be, I don't even know what they cost, but it should be a budgetary item that maybe we should have a heads up on, right? So that's all. I don't know, what's the process? That's all.
So, I mean, we took it out of, so the budget.
As far as the bidding goes, right? So
Yeah.
what's the process of that to let us know about what's going on? Does anybody know that?
I don't know the answer to that
Oh,
about.
it's always been, hey, we need five.
Yeah, Paul, we're gonna be paving Lakeview Ave, you know, that's when I go out and check my manhole covers to see if they need to be replaced.
Right.
Because I don't wanna be the guy that's gonna say, hey, you just paved the road, now you're gonna rip the cover out.
Yeah.
No, I,
So,
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
that's
how,
not,
Not
That's
just.
I know what
right.
you're saying, now,
That's
that's
the
how
result,
it's
not
done.
just-
We've always
with that.
just,
I mean, our
when
line,
they come
yeah,
out, we get.
How the sausage is made.
in our line item,
but Lakeview Ave is kind of a big road, right? How many
so there
manhole
were
covers
9,
are
I
there,
think,
right?
right? Weren't there 9?
I just, 9 to start with, I just purchased another 6.
Okay.
Right, so that's my point, right? So that's 15. A regular street is probably in,
Couple,
3 or 4 or something, right?
Yeah.
That's all.
So, but to get to your point about, you asking about the line item for the budget, so that falls under the pump station maintenance line item?
Right.
Which is usually over 100, but it is for manholes as well, manhole covers as well. But, yeah, so does that answer your, I'm sorry, does that
No,
answer-
I just don't,
Should we have a separate line
I
item?
don't wanna get stuck in the budget, because all of a sudden we gotta buy 50 manhole covers.
Yeah, 'cause
You know.
I get your point, 'cause they're gonna be doing wood lawn, wood lawns. Is it
Right,
lawns?
you're gonna be doing more,
Do you
as
wanna
long
see
as,
a line item that says?
not
street?
necessarily in our budget, like, when it goes out to bid, right, so the project is being bid, right?
Oh, have it.
But how is it bid? Is it,
Oh, we probably, this is.
are we providing something that?
Yeah, but this is
that's-
But-
probably cheaper than having it in the bid. 'cause
No, that's not my.
They're not gonna have, hey,
So we're providing something that they should have provided, cause it's in the bid that says they have to replace
Well-
it. So we give them the covers and they do the work.
oh.
But I
work.
think, to be fair, you're only replacing ones that are cracked anyway, correct? That you would have to replace anyway, even if the road wasn't getting
Yes,
paved?
I didn't replace them all, right.
So, even if they weren't doing a paving job, he would eventually be replacing that, cause it's cracked or they're broken, or they're not sitting flush.
But wouldn't that
But
come?
are you just saying you want a
wouldn't that
heads
come
up?
under the, town
I-
engineer?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be, the, town
Yeah, that's why I was
administrator.
hoping he was here, I wanted to ask that question.
He'll be at, I'm sure he'll be at the next meeting, he had a
Alright.
commitment today.
Because
Perfect.
the highway division did the same thing. They purchased the storm drain covers and the drain covers, the same place where I got them.
And the
dropped them
contractor
off.
doing the work puts
Yes,
Yeah,
I did the
no,
same thing.
it works.
All right, correspondence,
Nope,
complaints?
Nope.
Parker Station, no smell anyone? All good? No complaints?
no complaints.
Okay.
Oh, Parker, yeah, it's
Executive session?
doing good.
Motion to adjourn?
So much humidity, you just can't smell it.
Okay.
Motion and a second, further discussion, hearing seen none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, hey,